Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Now there are 3 opportunities to hunt on St. Vincent Island, and the last time that my granddad hunted there was in the 1970s. There's an archery-only whitetail deer hunt in November, there's a sandbar deer hunt in December, and there's a primitive weapons whitetail deer hunt in January. You have to have a permit to be allowed on the island during the hunt, and the plan was for my dad to film my granddad shooting a borrowed muzzleloader. You can scout the island any time that you want before the hunt, and you can only hang stands the day before the hunt starts, and you have to make sure that you get the stands after the hunt. Some people camped out on the island, but my dad and granddad decided to go and stay on Cape Sandblast and take their boat over every morning.
All right, here we are down at Indian Pass. We're getting ready to go over to St. Vincent Island. Here's the layout now. This is, of course, the pass right here. We're going to head over here to the first campground, all back down here. Now, this is Apalachicola Bay. To our left, and wait, this is the mainland to our left and all, but St. Vincent Island runs about 9 miles, and we're going to work on the hunt the little end down here and take our bicycles somewhere toward the middle. We're going to scout out this afternoon to find us a spot, and we're going to go ahead and get ready to launch our boat. First thing though, put the plugs in. Don't forget the plugs. We've got the bicycles on board and everything, so we're going to get started.
Now there are 2 check-in stations on the island, one on the east side at Indian Pass and one on the west side on the Gulf side. And when we got there, we had to present our driver's license, we had to present our hunting license, and we had to present our St. Vincent Island whitetail deer permit. Now the staff there was very nice and answered our questions when we got in, and hanging on the bulletin board was a spreadsheet showing the hunts over the last 10 or 15 years for all 3 of the hunts. It was interesting that it had a lot of data on it, and it showed that typically for the January primitive weapon whitetail deer hunt, about 250 people get permits, but only about 150 actually show up. And so of that 150 people, normally about 30% actually harvest a deer. Now, the best year was in 2009 when 53% of the people harvested a deer, but the worst year was in 2004 when only 16% harvested a deer.
Okay, we're on our scouting trip now. This is the main road, Road B. It used to be real sandy when I first came, but now we've got oyster shells. It's in great shape for a bicycle. So we're going to ride down here a couple miles and start looking for some scrapes and rubs. If we find them, then that's where we're going to set up. All right, now we're about 1.5 miles into the island. We've just checked the wind direction and checked the weather for tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to have a northeast wind, so we're coming this way. So we're thinking about going down in here. It's red, it's closed. We're thinking about, we're right here now. We're thinking about going all the way down into here and checking this area out in here. That's our game plan A. All right, we found a good spot. I want you to look right here. We've already crossed one big water hole. Well, look at here, we got an obstacle here. And I don't want to get wet first day, get all my shoes wet. Another 50 yards, we got another. But this is a good swampy area with a ridge. There's some bucks up in here. All right, we're going to stake our claim. All right, got my name on it. All right, Plan A, after a short scouting trip, get down this area right back in here. You can see it's a good area. I feel good about it. So we got to put our flag up that we're going in here tomorrow morning. I think we got a good situation here. Except it's going to be cold.
Now, every good hunter has a plan A and a plan B, especially whenever you're hunting on public land. Because like we learned in Ohio, you can't control what other people do.
All right, we're still out looking. We're walking now. And we came up on this area, and I love this area. It's like I remember with the ridge, then looking down on the palmettos and the open. Beautiful. And I'm getting ready. I'm getting all excited. And all of a sudden, Walter says, look over there. That's a tree stand. Plan B. Boom. I just saw a deer. We were on the way back and just got on a bicycle and just saw a white flag go up. He was coming across this ridge right here. And of course, he heard us and took off. That's the first one we've seen.
Was it a buck?
Couldn't tell, but it's a big deer. It's a big deer. Saw the white flag.
Was he coming this way or is he walking along the hill?
He's coming from our left to right along that hill, along that little ridge. That's what we talked a lot about, these ridges. They're not going to walk right here in the middle of this water. They're going to hug these ridges here. We were chosen. We just had a meeting, all the hunters, and they went every other name alphabetically for the hunter's choice. That means you can shoot a doe or a buck. You have the option, every other name. And they called out my name and they called out Walter's name. So we both have the option of getting a doe if we don't see a buck. So that's a good sign. Seen 3 or 4 campers from Panama City, some viewers of Panhandle Outdoors. Got to talk to them. Had some good insight. Now we got to get out in our boat before it gets dry. I hope we're not aground.
Now on Thursday morning, which is the first day you could hunt, we decided to get up at about 3:45 Central Time so that we could leave the Cape, trailer the boat to Indian Pass, take the boat across the pass, drop me off, Winston would anchor out, Winston would wade in with his waders, and then from there we would bicycle to our hunting location. So we bicycled into our second spot, and the plan was for Winston to be in a ground blind, and then I would be up above him in a climber so that I could get good video angles of him harvesting a huge whitetail deer on St. Vincent Island. Now, one thing that we learned is that it's probably smart to go ahead and set your stand up the day before the hunt. We did get set up, but it was right before legal shooting hours. But we were set up. And as the sun started to come up, I think Winston and I both took the time to realize and see the beauty of God's creation.
Now the rules say that you can't be moving around from legal shooting light until 8 a.m. Central Time, or from 1 hour until sunset to sunset. So after it was legal, my dad and my granddad got up and they started to look for a new spot that offered my granddad higher ground on a dune line where he could set his ground blind.
All right, it's about 11 o'clock now. We got down the stand, sort of stretched our legs a little bit. We saw 5 deer this morning, a spike and a couple of does, and maybe 2 yearlings, I think. But they were too little to shoot at, but we did get to see some deer. It's fascinating. I enjoy the hunt, but right now we're just walking the road. And I just love walking the road. I mean, this is original old Florida, folks. No civilization, no development. This is how it looked when our ancestors, 6 generations ago now, came in. All right, this afternoon we're going to. We're scouting out right now. Looking at the thing about scouting, just everywhere you go, there's tracks, So we just got to play the wind. We got to see what the wind's going to do this afternoon, and we're going to move, I think. But we saw 5 this morning, but we're just going to move maybe to the other side of one of these dune lines.
Now, in the afternoon, we did move our hunting location just a little bit to the east. We found a good spot that had a dune line that gave a good spot for Winston to put his ground line to be able to see. We also had seen some game trails that we had a good view of, and there was a perfect pine tree for me to put my climber to be able to see the deer and film Winston. Now the wind was blowing out of the northeast, and we were basically facing northeast, and after about an hour, I saw a deer coming. I tapped on the tree, which is a signal to Winston, hey, there's a deer. And what's funny is he was able to get out of his ground blind to be able to stand up and see, hopefully, over the underbrush for a St. Vincent white-tailed deer. That click that you heard was our borrowed muzzleloader misfiring. Winston had the deer perfectly in his crosshairs. He squeezed the trigger and nothing fired. So he cycled the bolt again, and believe it or not, that deer stood right there. Now it's rare that you get a second chance at a deer with a muzzleloader. Now I love this footage because you actually get to see the hunter and the deer along with the big explosion that comes with hunting with a muzzleloader.
Well, they were right. He did shoot a little high. Well, there my granddad was, left to stand there and has to watch the deer run off. The sight, the smell, and the sound of that black powder in the air is the joy of muzzleloader hunting. But the only downside is that you only get one shot. Here's the footage again in slow motion.
Stay tuned for more white-tailed deer hunting on St. Vincent Island on Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Well, thanks for coming back to our St. Vincent Island white-tailed deer hunt. Now, we've reloaded the gun. We poured 100 grains of gunpowder down the barrel. We've pushed in another 54 caliber bullet and sabot, and we put a musket cap on the nipple, and we're ready to go. Thankfully, another deer showed up, and he showed up in the perfect spot, on a ridge right in front of us. Now, remember that we had tags that allowed us to shoot anything except a spotted fawn, and this buck turns out to be a spike. I don't think Winston normally would shoot a spike, but in this situation, we needed to help St. Vincent Island with their herd management, and we were happy to do so.
I just touched the trigger and went off. I didn't even get an aim on him.
He was standing pretty broadside too.
Oh, I had a wonderful shot. God, that me sick. That was a spike, wasn't it? I just touched the trigger. And I've never missed a deer broadside. Never.
Well, like Winston said, he's never missed a broadside deer like that before. And I've heard that he has made some great shots on running deer. But that just goes to show you.
Always be familiar with your gun, your ammo, and your gear before you go on your hunt.
And it's also important to know that on St. Vincent Island, there is not a range for you to shoot your gun.
Now they reloaded again, and it wasn't too long before they had more deer in the area. But my granddad was having a little trouble seeing what my dad could see while he was up in the tree. It's pretty funny how this little deer and my granddad got into a staring contest. This deer was so small that my dad said he had thought he just rubbed his spots off before he came out. There was no way that my granddad was going to shoot this little thing. My dad was trying to tell my granddad that there was a larger doe behind this one, but he never came into sight.
It is fascinating to watch these deer in their natural environment. From the tail twitches that communicate to other deer, it's time to move on or watch out, something's up there, to the leg stomps to try and get Winston to move and show them what he is, or the nose up in the air trying to catch our wind. It's incredible how long a deer will stand quiet as a mouse and still as a stone. Many hunters have been busted by a patient deer who waited longer than the hunter to move. Now, keep in mind, Winston could not see the second deer during this entire encounter. But you see that deer are curious animals, and this little deer tried to walk away, but just couldn't help herself, and she had to come back to get a little closer look to try and figure out what Winston was.
All right, we recap the first day. Listen, y'all recognize Bob Stapleton. He comes in on Diver's Den, but he's also an avid hunter. How long you been coming down here?
I've been coming down here several years.
Several years, and
You know, primitive weapons, spear guns count. It works.
So you didn't have much luck today?
I didn't. No, I saw a lot of sign.
Yeah.
Saw a guy dragging a nice pig out.
Yeah.
That went by me. There's Eddie. What'd you get?
Got tired.
Got tired. Yeah, I got that. But pretty woods today. All the conditions were great. The wind wasn't too bad and steady and sunshiny and not too cold. It was a great day hunting.
It was nice. I think we just took, behind us, we took a count, and they brought in 8 today. I don't know how many bucks.
Yeah, I don't know how many bucks.
This is.
I saw a raccoon wading around in the water out there. If I hadn't had to wade to go get him, I think I'd have shot him. You get a free ride back if you have any game.
Yeah, that's right. But we got your game plan set for tomorrow?
Yeah, same thing, same thing.
We're going to do the
Try
same.
again.
we're going to do the same thing too.
There's plenty of game moving.
Yeah. All right, folks, this is the second day of the hunt. It was blowing, okay, and we decided to wait till daylight to come across, and so we coming in a little bit later than we normal would. But yesterday, those deer we saw a bunch of them in the middle of the day. So yesterday we did total, I think, with 10 deer off this end with 66 hunters. So, and some of them were small, most of them were small. So we're excited. I just love it. It's day 2, and we're still raring to go.
We saw a few deer that day, but really didn't have any opportunities for shots. And believe it or not, we had freezing rain or sleet start coming down on St. Vincent Island in the afternoon.
All right, folks, we're gonna wrap it up. It's been a great time. Listen, we're gonna go home. First thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna build me a fire and stand in front of it for 2 hours and 12 minutes till I get warm. and then we'll go on to the next hunt. But listen, we're going home. We're not gonna have any meat or anything, but the outdoor experience is not judged by the quantity of meat and all you bring home. It's the quality of time and the caliber of people you're with. And with that being said, this experience on St. Vincent Island has been outstanding. For Panhandle Outdoors, I'm Winston Chester.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.